Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be looking at Ultimate Black Panther issues 2 and 3 by Brian Hill and Stefano Caselli. T'Challa's rule of Wakanda takes a turn in the wake of his father's death, which causes T'Challa to do whatever it takes to root out Khonshu and Ra's people in Wakanda and help make his nation safer. Black Panther, being a kind of morally grey character or someone who straddles that line, has always been something that's been around the character, and I really enjoy when a writer gets into it, and here we get to see that as sort of the forefront of the character, and it gives the book a really exciting angle that we don't see with many other heroes, since T'Challa of course is the ruler of a nation as well as a hero, so there's this interesting dynamic that he has to play both roles as a ruler and a superhero. It leads to an internal struggle with a character that I find quite compelling, and Brian Hill does a great job of conveying that through the page. Like last issue, the book also has big Game of Thrones energy to it. There's this political intrigue, since while T'Challa is doing all of this, his queen Okoye is also stoking the fire within him and kind of trying to push him away from the more traditional Vodou Khan and other things in Wakanda and sort of lead Wakanda into the light in a more modern way and modern sensibilities. But as we find out, T'Challa's council with the Vodou Khan brings him a prophecy, one that we find him listening to, as it is he will soon meet a woman of light who will give him an heir, which even further complicates T'Challa's life and rule. He doesn't have much time to think about this though, as he is thrust into battle with Khonshu and Ra's armies, who again continue to try and attack Wakanda. Hill uses this as an opportunity to show off some of Black Panther's toys, like a giant Panther mech ship that T'Challa pilots briefly into battle with the Moon Knight's men. It intrigues me how sparse the use of T'Challa as the Black Panther has been. We've barely seen him suit up over the course of issue 1 and 2 and issue 3 as well, and it's more focused on T'Challa the man more than the Black Panther, which is always quite interesting when writers do that, and I'm intrigued to see how Brian is going to handle that as we are introduced to more characters like Killmonger and Storm, and then of course the larger Ultimate Universe, which we'll be getting a little bit more of in the coming issues. I do wish we had gotten a little bit more action at this point, but Hill uses it as a real neat way to, since T'Challa ended the Moon Knight threat so fast, Ra and Khonshu have to kind of switch up their plans on how they go about trying to take down the Panther, and they are given a new route thanks to the spy within Wakanda. As I said in issue 1, the spy is absolutely someone close to T'Challa, and I feel it might be Shuri. At least that's how I'm sort of reading her role in issue 1 and this issue, since she's wanting a war to break out so she can use the Dora Milaje, and then also her new weapons of war she's been developing. So there is a precedence for her to want to take Wakanda into a more warlike state. Brian is also doing a good job planting red herrings for this woman in light that T'Challa learns of from the Vodou Khan, showing us a few contenders this issue, including the rather obvious one of Storm, who arrives at the end of the issue after T'Challa investigates a possible Moon Knight base location only to be ambushed. Obviously we know Storm and T'Challa have been married in the 616 universe and they've had a relationship, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen here, as well as the course that it's implied that Killmonger and her are kind of an item as well. We've already seen her with Killmonger in that first issue, and while her and Black Panther getting together could be used as a dramatic device where it creates a divide between Panther and Killmonger, making them enemies, that feels a little bit too obvious. I of course wouldn't be against them getting together in this universe, since they're technically not together in the main universe, but it's just not a creative swing that I would have thought these Ultimate characters would be getting. I think if he was to stick with Okoye and grow their relationship with one another from one of convenience into one of actual love, that would actually feel a bit more earned and a bit more satisfying for that to happen. You see these characters grow together over the course of this book. Issue 3 brings us more interactions between Okoye and Shuri, both who obviously have their own designs for Wakanda and for T'Challa and how he should rule it, and it was fun seeing them take their frustrations out on each other during their quote-unquote training session. Both obviously love and care for T'Challa greatly and are pulling him in two different directions, but thanks to this fight, both seem to get a better understanding of who each other is and even a respect for each other. I quite liked the sequence with them fighting and learning a little bit more about one another and who they are as a person. T'Challa meanwhile has met with Storm and Eric Killmonger, who we do learn was indeed from Wakanda, but he has no interest in the paradise while others in Africa are suffering. Killmonger ends up taking T'Challa on a journey to show him that more exists outside of Wakanda's borders than he thought, including more things to do with vibranium and the more mystical sides of Wakanda, as T'Challa is taken deep into the earth where he learns what the Moon Knights are actually after, which is a very old temple containing a giant green orb that can render vibranium inert, or at least take control away from the user, as Black Panther loses control of his costume and can no longer use it while in the presence of this thing. We don't exactly know what it is. It might be something from Black Panther history, but it's not something I immediately recognize, and it was seemingly sealed away. There's like skeletons all around it. There's also a great shot, and I'm 100% sure it's intentional, but T'Challa sees like a statue in like the darkness, and the statue looks like a rendering of Kang. It looks exactly like Kang, and I'm wondering if it might be tied in with Kang and what's going on with Kang in this Ultimate Universe. Obviously, we're left off in issue 3 with not a lot of answers, and it's obviously because Brian is building up to a big mystery here, but I do wish we had a little bit more revealed, especially given the pace this third issue was going at. This leads me to a lot of the problems with that third issue, since it was quite short, but we powered through quite a fair bit of story here with Eric and Storm and T'Challa and all of those characters, and it could have been done in a lot shorter time, especially the Okoye and Shuri fight at the beginning, which was 6 pages at the start of the issue, and that could have probably been done in maybe 2 or 3 issues at most. And then we could have had more time with Killmonger and T'Challa sort of bonding and learning a bit more about this strange glowing orb. All in all, Ultimate Black Panther is building up its mysteries in engaging ways, leaning heavily on the Game of Thrones political action thriller aspects to build up these versions of familiar characters in a different way. That being said, the pacing, especially of issue 3, felt quite rushed, and we end up focusing on things that we probably shouldn't for a little bit longer than we should have, and a little bit more of an efficient way of plotting could have prevented this. I'm going to give both these issues an 8 out of 10.